Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. On last Friday's episode, I made a lime and tequila cake using this Patron Citronge lime liqueur, lime tequila liqueur, and lime, yogurt, the whole thing. Go back and take a look at it. At the end, I kind of mused, I wonder what this cake would taste like if you grated in some jalapeno. Would it add anything to the cake? Would it take the cake up that extra notch? So I'm going to do it this week. And I thought it was very appropriate to do it the next week in the schedule because today, Friday, Julie and I are in Mexico with a bunch of our viewers doing a food tour of Mexico City and then Oaxaca. So at this point in the week, we will actually be in Oaxaca. So we're going to make the cake. We're going to try it with the jalapeno. So in this bowl, I have flour. To that, I'm adding salt, baking soda, and baking powder. And I'll just give that a little bit of a stir. Doesn't take much. There we go. Together. In this bowl, I'm going to put some melted butter or softened butter. It doesn't have to be completely melted. And sugar. And we'll just give that a bit of a whisk. Now, that mixes up real quick. You don't have to melt or soften the butter. You could just use butter and cream together the way you normally would for a cake. I find that with this small amount, it is massively easier to melt the butter first. So I'm going to put in an egg and we're going to cream that into the butter sugar mixture. By the same token, you could make this an oil cake. Instead of using butter, you could use your favorite oil quite easily. So whisk that in and then whisk in some yogurt. The yogurt makes this cake really nice and tender. That goes in. Now, this uses this tequila liqueur. And I know that a question that I get a lot from people is around using alcohol in cooking. I use it in cooking. I have no problem with using it in cooking because alcohol is an incredible solvent. And what I mean by that is it pulls flavors, it extracts flavors out and makes them available for you to taste. And so as the best solvent, as alcohol is the best solvent, it is in all of the extracts that you buy. So vanilla extract, 40% alcohol. Any of these little bottles of extract that you buy, this one is lemon, but you know, lemon, lime, almond, all of those things, alcohol is the number one ingredient, around 40%. So if you're baking and you're using, you know, these extracts, you're always putting in a certain amount of alcohol. And I don't do that to scare you. And the other thing is that a lot of people say, oh, it burns off during the baking process. It doesn't. There have been a lot of tests of that over the years. And what they found was that after a cake is baked or after you flambe something in a pan, if you're using alcohol in a pan for a flambe, a lot of the alcohol is still available. If you put alcohol in water and boil the pot, right down to the last bit of water that boils off, there's still alcohol present. It doesn't just flash off at the beginning. It doesn't work that way. So it's always in there. And that doesn't mean to scare you or change your mind about using alcohol or anything. I just think that, you know, knowledge is power. And the more that you know, the better you're going to be in the kitchen because you know what the ingredients are and how they work together. So I'm just zesting this lime, and I'm going to zest in more lime than I did in the cake last week. I want to sort of bring up that flavor a little bit more, get it a little bit more pronounced than it was. So that's probably 2/3 of a lime, and we'll mix that in. Actually, before we mix it in, let's get some of this jalapeno in, and I don't know how much jalapeno to put in. How much jalapeno is enough? How much jalapeno is too much? So here's the thing, I'm not looking for heat. I'm not looking for a piece of cake that you put in your mouth and it burns your mouth. And often people use hot peppers that way. That's what they're looking for, that's great. But you can use hot peppers in a way where they bring just a slight perception of heat, but they bring something that's, you know, it's just there at the edge of your mouth and you don't know what it is. It's there, but is it there? You don't know. It's an extra layer of flavor. And I really respect cooks who know how to use respect chefs who know how to use hot items in their cooking without it burning your mouth, but just adding that extra layer. Okay, now I want to juice in some of this lime. Just catch any of the seeds. I think just the juice of half a lime. I think that's going to be fine. So set that aside. And now we'll put in the citronge. And as I mentioned before, this is essentially... Who's calling me in the middle of a show? That was Dan and Norm from the North Brothers, a couple of guys that I'm mentoring in the film business. They've got a production company in Whitby called North Brothers. If you need some filming done in Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, give those guys a call. Look them up on Instagram. So where was I? This is tequila-based lime liqueur, essentially the same as limoncello, except it's lime and tequila instead of lemon and neutral grain spirit. I want about a tablespoon of it. Now, I'm thinking that just based on my thought process, you could just use any tequila that you like to get that tequila flavor and then put in some lime extract. Or leave the lime extract out and put in all of the lime zest and maybe a little bit more lime juice just to keep that lime flavor. Not sure how it's going to turn out, but I think you could probably get away with that. So you don't have to buy the citronge if you don't have it. It's a product I really like, but I don't get to use it on the cocktails after dark, just because it's a brand new product and it doesn't fit with the scope of what we were doing. Now I'm going to mix in the flour mixture a little bit at a time, and that's it. That's the whole idea with these cakes for two, is that not many ingredients, really easy method. You can do it in a bowl with a whisk. It shouldn't take too long. It's something that you can stand up after supper and say, you know what, I'd really like a cake while I'm sitting watching TV tonight. And just get out a few ingredients, whip it together really quickly, and get it in the oven. I think that's going to work. Yeah, I think that's going to work. So I've got a 6x6. It's buttered with a parchment sling. The oven is preheated to 325. And with these cakes, I go back and forth between 325 and 350. I kind of think 325 gives you a little bit better control with such a small quantity over your baking than 350 does. But definitely 350 works as well. You just have to keep your eye on it a little bit more. So this is going to go in the oven. I'll come back and look at it at about the 25-minute mark. Check it out, and then it maybe needs another 5-10 minutes after that.
Hey, Glenn. Hey,
Jules.
friends.
So just a little taste.
Just a little taste?
Let's do a little taste. We'll hold it in our hands.
Oh, it's a finger-sized taste.
Yeah, it's a finger-sized taste. So, little piece for you, little piece for me.
Thank you.
It's a good-looking cake.
It's still a little bit warm.
Little flecks of green in there. Hint of lime.
And then a little bit of a bite to it.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bite. You could. It's great because
It's more of a tingle than a bite. Mm-hmm. A little bit of the tequila coming through, but not much, just enough. The flavors all go together really well, don't they?
yeah, it's not like.
And the tingle builds as you...
And it's not like. Okay, so I've never had cake with jalapenos in it, but I have had like cornbread and stuff where it's like, whoa, yeah, that's a lot of jalapenos in there. It's like, no, that's flavor and not much else.
So I could have... Yeah.
No, that's not fair. I mean, but yeah.
It's a great cake. Mm-hmm. It's got a good mix of flavors. They all seem to go together really well. I didn't put in much of the jalapeno. I still probably could have gone maybe a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Without it being hot, but
Still having flavor.
Still having flavor.
Yeah. See, here I am. I'm going for more. Good thing you only cut me a little
Okay,
piece.
so we just got a little piece because we haven't had supper yet. I think this is a great cake idea. I really like
Well, I know the lime one was really good.
Yeah.
And so that little twist is just,
Yeah, I like the interplay, which makes me think about all kinds of other things that you could put in cakes. We'll come to that. At some point, we'll come to that. So I do think that you, instead, if you don't have this citronge and you don't want to use that, you could use any tequila. Still put in a tablespoon of the tequila, bring that tequila flavor. Could even stand a little bit more, just to bring a little bit more of the tequila flavor, pronounce it a little bit more.
here's the best part, it's a little cake.
It's a little cake. You just
You
keep
can
trying.
do it a bunch of times without being,
That's it.
you know,
It's not a huge expense. It's
Yeah.
not terrible to have to get through the cake. You could make 5 or 6 of these little cakes and then just triple the recipe
when you're ready.
when you're ready and put it in a bigger cake pan. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.